Good morning. It's a pleasant Saturday morning. You're watching DD India and I'm Preeti presenting this edition of News on the Hour, a 1-hour show we get for you every day, wherein we keep you abreast with all the aspects of the news items that are making it to the headlines this morning. When we talk about all we will take up in the morning, in this edition this morning, we'll get you the details of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be chairing the Niti Aayog's Governing Council meeting today. We'll get you details on that as well. Added to that, we'll let you know how the disengagement is completed at the Pangong Tso Lake, and added to that, the 10th round of Corps Commander talks will be held at Moldo today. We'll get you details of that as well. Added to that, we'll give you the latest COVID situation domestically and also the international situation when we talk of the COVID-19 pandemic. Added to that, an Indian movie has made it to the race for Oscars. We'll get you all this in the next 1 hour. Stay with us. First, we get you the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to chair Niti Aayog's Governing Council meeting today. Issues related to agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing and human resource development to be discussed. Tenth round of Corps Commander talks to be held at Moldo on the Chinese side this morning to discuss pullback from other friction areas. Disengagement along Pangong Tso Lake complete. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar embarking on a 4-day visit to Maldives and Mauritius. Review of bilateral ties and development cooperation high on the agenda. Leaders of the G7 group vow to boost supplies of COVID-19 vaccines to the developing world at the virtual G7 meeting that was hosted by United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Leaders increased their pledges to the WHO-led COVAX Global Vaccine Initiative to $7.5 billion. Medvedev marches into his first Australian Open final, beats Tsitsipas. In women's singles, Naomi Osaka and Jennifer Brady will battle out for the Australian Open trophy today. And National Award-winning Odia filmmaker Neela Madhav Panda's Kalira Tita enters the race for Oscars. It is nominated in general category for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director. Alright, those were the top stories. Now we get you the details. First, we'll get you details on Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be chairing the 6th meeting of the Governing Council of Niti Aayog via video conferencing. The agenda of the meeting includes deliberations on agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, human resource development, service delivery at grassroots level and health and nutrition. The 6th meeting will witness the entry of Ladakh for the first time, in addition to the participation of Jammu and Kashmir as a union territory. This time, other union territories headed by administrators have also been invited to join in. The meeting will also be attended by ex-officio members of the Governing Council, union ministers, vice chairman, members and CEO of Niti Aayog and other senior officials of the Government of India. The Governing Council presents a platform to discuss intersectoral, interdepartmental and federal issues. It comprises of the Prime Minister, Chief Ministers of states and union territories with legislatures and Lieutenant Governors of other union territories. India and China are holding the 10th round of Corps Commander level talks today at Moldo on the Chinese side of the LAC. Now, discussions are likely to be held on disengagement at friction points of Gogra and Hot Springs. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had announced in Parliament that the 10th round of talks would be held within 48 hours of the disengagement being completed on the north and south banks of Pangong Tso. Meanwhile, disengagement on both the sides of the Pangong Lake has been completed. Both sides have pulled back troops, tanks and other equipment from the banks of Pangong Tso, which became a flashpoint in the prolonged border dispute. The Indian Army had earlier released videos and photos showing thinning down of troops and dismantling of bunkers, camps by the Chinese military in the areas around the lake and eastern Ladakh in line with the agreed disengagement process between the two sides. The visuals also showed the Chinese People's Liberation Army using a bulldozer to flatten some structures and vehicles with troops and equipment preparing to retreat to rear bases as part of the infantry disengagement. Now, according to the agreement, troops will relocate to the pre-April positions. Senior commander level talks will be held within 48 hours of the retreat of forces. Both India and China will move back to traditional bases along the line of actual control in a phased manner. Chinese troops were to relocate to Finger 8 in the North Bank, while Indian Army will remain in its permanent base near Finger 3. Also, construction done by both sides since April 2020 will be removed. Moratorium on patrolling on the northern banks of Pangong Tso and patrolling will resume after diplomatic and military level talks. All right, to get us more on that, our correspondent Nandita Dagar is joining us. Nandita, good morning. When we talk of the disengagement has been completed at the Pangong Tso Lake, and now the 10th level of the Corps Commanders level talks is going to take place today. Let us know more. After the disengagement, it had been agreed that within 48 hours the talks will be held, and now that the talks are being held, from where do these talks move on forward? Given that the disengagement
good morning, Preeti. These talks, that is the 10th Corps Commander level talks, as the Defence Minister had promised in the Parliament, will be taking place 48 hours after the first phase is over, and as per schedule they are taking place. Our Lieutenant General of the 14th Corps will be talking to the Chinese Corps Commander, and the agenda this time is basically taking stock of what has been achieved. That of course has been a coordinated and verified process. Now the friction points or the standoff points at Depsang, Gogra and Hot Springs will be taken up. You in your anchor link and have very comprehensively explained how from Finger 4 to Finger 8 is a no patrolling zone. It's a no man's land where there is a temporary halt or a cease to patrolling. Armored forces, the mechanized.
Yes, Nandita, am I audible? Nandita, please continue.
Yeah. Preeti, about
yes,
10 minutes
please
back,
continue.
these talks must have started. About 10 minutes back, these talks must have started. Around 10 a.m. they were supposed to start at the Moldo garrison on the Chinese occupied side of the line of actual control. We expect these talks to not go as long as the earlier Corps Commander level talks went. As you know, Preeti, that some of these talks have gone on to at least 13 to 14 hours also. Because this agreement was reached in the 9th Corps Commander level talks, now we expect the Chinese to actually walk the talk. Since the trust level that we have on the Chinese is very, very low, the Indian Army does not trust the Chinese. Therefore, every step has been reciprocated only after verifying and cross-checking, not with multiple sources, not just through observation of line of sight, but also through drones, satellite imagery, everything. And that has shown that from all the fingers, from Finger 4 to 6, 7, 8, these places have been vacated by the Chinese. Not just the videos of the Indian Army, but also satellite imagery shows that the Chinese have vacated their bunkers, tents, dismantled their temporary structures, and in fact with JCBs have leveled the land over there, just as this was for part of the agreement also, as the Defence Minister had told in the Rajya Sabha, that the landforms will be restored. So as of now, status quo ante of April 2020 has been is on path to being achieved. And that is what India's main demand was, that the status quo of April 2020 be restored. And China has achieved nothing by the way through the resolute deployment and the rapid deployment of the Indian Army, which took the Chinese by surprise. They were not expecting the Indian Army to stay put through the winter months. Indian Army did not blink. India showed a resolute resolve, did not budge from the heights, and that is what caused China to relent. It has in fact lost face, Preeti, in a way, because it has not actually achieved any strategic objective. It tried to shift the LAC westwards, but it has failed in that objective. And this is all due to primarily I would give three reasons for that. One, the occupying of the Rizangla, Richinla heights in the Kailash ranges, which you know that this turned the tables on the Chinese, and it gave us a bargaining chip, because till the fourth round of Corps Commander level talks, you know that there was no headway, there was a stalemate. But only after that action did the Chinese got serious about dialogue and understood that the Indians meant business. Number two, it was also the firm resolve the rapid, massive mobilization of the Indian Army, as in equal measure, more than 90,000 troops of the Indian Army at the LAC in eastern Ladakh, all through the friction points. Preeti?
All right, Nandita, now that you're telling us that status quo of the April 2020 has been, reached, and added to that, the disengagement has also been, the first phase of disengagement has been completed at Pangong So Lake. The troops of both sides are moving to the rear points. How would you gauge the, the relationship between the two countries from here on?
That's a very good question, Preeti.
In,
Preeti, what
somewhat
has
normalizing of the relationship?
Preeti, that's a very good question. Let me tell you that as I've spoken to several army people, several foreign ministry diplomats, and they tell me that the relationship cannot be business as usual. Even though this disengagement has been affected, the larger issue of the LAC remains. The defense minister, the foreign minister, in their various talks with the Chinese, in not just on the sidelines of the SCO, but also the talks in Moscow, and the several joint statements that have been issued both by the foreign ministry and defense ministry, openly and very categorically, unambiguously state that the relationship between the two countries that depends upon the peace and tranquility on the border. And the kind of deception, the sly the lies and trickery that the Chinese did on 15th of June in Galwan, which led to the martyrdom of our 20 soldiers. India cannot really trust the Chinese at all. The Indian Army has absolutely no trust on the Chinese. Every action is being looked at with a microscope. In fact, through drones, satellite imagery, everything is being verified, cross-verified. Only then reciprocal action is being taken. But let me tell you that the larger strategic geopolitical dynamics have changed, have shifted since last year. And as we saw, the banning of the Chinese apps which were a threat to our security and data privacy, all that, other measures in the in the Indian Ocean region, we find that what I have been told is that the relationship cannot be as hunky-dory as it was before, even though it was not hunky-dory even then, but it cannot go back. The relationship certainly cannot go back to April 2020.
All right, but the savior is that both the sides are trying to, trying their hands at further strengthening the relationship, even as disengagement, the first phase of disengagement has been completed, and added to that, we also tell our viewers that efforts are being made to bring the troops back to the rear points, and also other inputs which have been put forth by our correspondent Nandita Dagar. So that was it. When we talk of India and China, they will be holding the 10th round of the Corps Commander level talks today at Moldo on the Chinese side of the LAC. We'll keep you updated. Let's get to other news now. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will today leave on a 4-day visit to Maldives and Mauritius. On the first leg of his visit, the External Affairs Minister will visit Maldives. During his visit to the Maldives, Dr. Jaishankar will call on President Ibrahim Mohammed Solih and will have substantive discussions with the Ministers for Foreign Affairs, Defence, Finance, Economic Development and Planning and Infrastructure. Dr. S. Jaishankar will review the entire gamut of bilateral ties as well as progress of the ongoing bilateral projects, and also hold discussions on the ongoing COVID situation including India's continued assistance to the Maldives for its post-COVID economic recovery. And during his visit to Mauritius on 22nd and 23rd of February, the External Affairs Minister will be calling on President Prithviraj Singh Rupun and Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth. The minister will also meet his counterpart, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, there. And during this visit, the External Affairs Minister will review the ongoing implementation of various infrastructure projects being carried out by India in Mauritius, and will also be holding discussions on bilateral, regional and global issues of mutual interest, including India's assistance to Mauritius. Both Maldives and Mauritius are India's key maritime neighbors in the Indian Ocean region and occupy a special place in Prime Minister's vision of Sagar, or security and growth for all in the region. And up next, we take a look at COVID-19 situation from across the country. COVID-19 recovery rate in the country has touched 97.27%. 1,06,78,048 people have recovered from COVID-19 infection so far. 10,307 people were discharged in the last 24 hours. India's total active caseload presently stands at 1.43 lakh. The active caseload now consists of just 1.3% of the country's total positive cases. With the vaccination drive crossing milestones, the efforts to track COVID-19 are still going strong. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, a total of 21,261,480 samples were tested for COVID-19 so far. Of these, 7,86,618 samples were tested on Friday alone. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on Friday reiterated that COVID-19 vaccines are safe and appealed to all the nurses, Anganwadi workers and all other healthcare and frontline workers to come forward to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Rejecting the misinformation, rumours and negative messages about COVID-19 vaccination, he asserted that there are some vested campaigns that are not founded on the facts and urged people not to fall prey to these.
अपील के माध्यम से उन सब से ये कहना चाहते हैं कि जिन भी हमारे हेल्थ वर्कर्स और फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स ने अपना वैक्सीनेशन अभी तक नहीं लिया है, ये पूरी तरह से सेफ है। हम किसी भी प्रकार के मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन, र्यूमर्स या नेगेटिव मैसेज का शिकार ना हो और ये सुनिश्चित करें कि हमें ये वैक्सीनेशन जो समय सीमा निश्चित की गई है उसमें मिल जाए।
The Union Health Minister also said that the nation will remain indebted to the healthcare and frontline workers for their contribution. He added that vaccines are safe and they fulfill all the criteria of immunogenicity.
अभी तक ये पूरी तरह से सिद्ध हो गया है कि जो ड्रग कंट्रोलर ने अप्रूवल दिया 2 कोविड वैक्सीन्स को, वो 1 करोड़ से ज़्यादा डोजेस देश के लोगों को लग चुकी हैं। और मैं फिर से दोहराना चाहता हूं कि ये पूरी तरह से सेफ भी हैं और इम्यूनोजेनिसिटी के पैरामीटर्स पर भी खरी उतरती हैं। मेरा आज के इस अवसर पर उन सब मेडिकल प्रोफेशनल्स से, डॉक्टर्स से, नर्सेज से, पैरामेडिक्स से, फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स से जिन्होंने सर्वेलेंस में काम किया, कंटेनमेंट जोन्स में काम किया, जिन्होंने अपनी लाइफ को खतरे में डाला, सबसे ज़्यादा जिनको रिस्क था कोविड के खिलाफ अस्पताल में लड़ाई को लड़ने में, प्रोफेशनल ड्यूटीज़ को निभाते हुए, और जिनको इस वैक्सीनेशन के लिए सबसे आगे प्रायोरिटाइज किया गया था, और जो बहुत बड़ी संख्या के अंदर हमारे हेल्थ वर्कर्स हम सबके प्राणों की रक्षा करते हुए अपने प्राण भी जिन्होंने गंवाए, ऐसे हेल्थ वर्कर्स के प्रति पूरा देश कृतज्ञ है. वी आर ग्रेटफुल टू देम ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द नेशन.
In other news, students of People's Education Society, or the PES University, along with support provided from Defence Research and Development Organisation, will launch the second micro satellite, that is RSAT, on 28th of February in Bengaluru. RSAT will be propelled into space through rocket PSL C-51 at Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. This mission is being launched by ISRO under NSIL.
Students and the faculty of PES institution in Bangalore have designed and built this. This small satellite will go in space, creating yet another history and giving boost to the young generation here. And what was your role in this making this satellite?
I am working as a research associate. Here we bring in students and try to make cutting edge technology.
Prime Minister has said Atmanirbhar in space sector. Now the students are fulfilling, working towards this vision.
As an intern, I feel glad that all of these opportunities are coming at this time, because not only do we work in such an exciting arena such as space, we also get to work with new technologies and try to sort of see what's going on in the real world.
How do you see this satellite, creating a mark in the space?
There is a lot of opportunity for the students to build satellites like this. This is one example what the students can really do.
Correct.
And contributing on the similar lines, we have further plans to develop communication satellites or low Earth communication orbiting satellites for various applications.
And this research satellite will go in space as a testimony to this vision and dream of these youngsters in the space. With cameraman Girish Ashakhanam, DD India, Bangalore.
And the India Toy Fair is going to be organized from 27th of February till 2nd of March this year. Kurukshetra's Rohit is also excited for the fair. One of the stalls among the 1,000 belongs to Rohit, and he will display special wooden toys for kids during this virtual fair. Rohit, who carried forward his traditional work after pursuing engineering, perceives that this step would surely help to make India self-reliant.
इसमें कलर वगैरह नहीं किया, हम बिल्कुल एसएसडीज प्योर वुड में ही दे रहे हैं, ताकि बच्चा अगर मुंह में भी डाल ले, छोटा बच्चा, बड़ा बच्चा तो फिर भी संभालता, पर हम बेसिकली जैसे फन टॉयज होते हैं, छोटे जो वर्किंग टॉयज होते हैं, मतलब बच्चा मुंह में ना डालो, उसे हार्मफुल किसी भी तरह कोई भी हार्मफुल दिक्कत ना हो उसे किसी भी तरह, क्योंकि देखा जा रहा है अभी फूड चेन में भी मोस्टली आजकल पेस्टिसाइड डाल के फूड चेन भी हमारी ख़राब हो चुकी है, मिलावटी फूड है, तो हम किसी स्तर पे अपने बच्चे जो आने वाली जनरेशन उनको किसी न किसी तरह से हम बचाएं केमिकल से, तो इसलिए ये एक पहल की गई है.
Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh are celebrating their statehood day today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted the people of both the states on the occasion. Extending best wishes to the people of Mizoram, Prime Minister tweeted, and I quote him, "The entire nation is proud of the great Mizo culture. People of Mizoram are known for their kindness and commitment towards living in harmony with nature, praying for the state's continuous growth." Extending greetings to people of Arunachal Pradesh on the special occasion of their statehood day, the Prime Minister said people of this state are known for their culture, courage and strong commitment towards India's development. May Arunachal Pradesh keep scaling new heights of progress. And as we told you, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be chairing the 6th meeting of the Governing Council of Niti Aayog via video conferencing today. The agenda of the meeting includes deliberations on agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, human resource development, service delivery at grassroots level, and also health and nutrition. This will begin in a short while from now, but at at present. We will be joining in by our correspondent Arun, who will be telling us more about this. Arun, we tell our viewers that the Prime Minister will be chairing the 6th meeting of the Governing Council of Niti Aayog. Let us know more what is to be taken up on the agenda. We've given a broad outline of different sectors and the issues regarding different sectors which will be taken up. You get us more details.
Absolutely, Preeti. Today is a very important meeting. That's a Governing Council meet by the Niti Aayog and Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chief Ministers of all the states and union territories, will be participating in this Governing Council meet. This is, of course, the 6th Governing Council meet, but you can say that this is the first meet of this new decade that starts from 2021 till 2030. And of course, in the post-pandemic world, this is again, the first meeting as far as the Governing Council meet is concerned. You know this fact that there are close to 6 important sectors or issues that are going to be taken up as far as this meet is concerned. Number 1 is agriculture. Second is infrastructure. Third is manufacturing sector. Fourth is human resources development part. Fifth is that how can the services, the government policies can reach the grassroots level. And last but not the least, it is all about healthcare and nutrition part. Now, we know this fact that as far as this budget is concerned, or in last 6.5 years, various reformist approach have been adopted and various initiatives have been taken by the government. But over here, the idea is that how can cooperative federalism that can be strengthened, and in this post-COVID world or in this new decade, how can states and center can come together on board so that various infrastructure projects and can be implemented faster. What are the issues that the states are facing as of now in this post-COVID world, and what needs to be done as far as garnering more revenues? How can states and center work in a coordinated manner, or primarily as a team India primarily in this post-COVID world? We know this fact that India is taking up the massive vaccination drive. So a large portion of discussion is very much likely to be dedicated to the health and nutrition sector or the health and nutrition part, because India has achieved a milestone of 10 million vaccinations in India, and it is faster, rapidly achieving going forward with its vaccination drive. So how can states and center coordinate together so that vaccination drive, the pace of the vaccination drive can be increased? And in this post-COVID world, how can better healthcare infrastructure can be created? Because we know this fact that in the recently announced budget, a massive allocation was done as far as healthcare sector is concerned. The allocation to the healthcare sector was massively hiked as well. So it gives a sense that after the allocation part primarily, how can states and center can work together for upgrading the current healthcare infrastructure, for modernizing the current healthcare infrastructure, and how can the state and center can prepare well for the future pandemics if in case it hits the world. So how can the current health infrastructure can be geared up or prepared for the future pandemics? So all this is very much likely on this healthcare aspect. But we should not forget this fact that as far the agriculture sector, the manufacturing sector and infrastructure sector, that is likely to dominate as far as economical aspect is concerned, as to how to boost the economy going forward in this new decade. We know this fact that in the COVID crisis or during the COVID crisis, all the major global economies are facing recession and the growth is in a negative territory. But according to the various global institutions, India is likely, or in next fiscal primarily, the forecast of global institutions like IMF is that India is likely to grow at a pace of 11% or in double digit. So this gives a sense that the global institutions are very much positive about India. But how can states and center work together so that the kind of spending that has been increased on infrastructure sector, that can be fast tracked from the state side as well? What are the issues and bottlenecks in any of the infrastructure projects that needs to be sorted out? That will be coming up, on this table as well. Various interdepartmental discussions, intersectoral discussions that will be held as far as this meeting is concerned, so that various bottlenecks, challenges can be sorted out. We know this fact that Leh or primarily Ladakh, for the first time will be participating as a UT, and Jammu also as the UT will be participating in this governing council meeting. We know this fact that during this budget primarily is given a central university to the people of Ladakh. So the focus has been that the new states or the new UTs, primarily the union territories, what are their aspirations? What are the challenges they are facing as of now? What more needs to be done for these new UTs as of now? that is also very much likely to come up on the agenda, because recently the budget we have seen how Central University was announced for the people of Ladakh in Leh primarily. So this shows that the education is very much on the agenda as far as the UTs like Ladakh is concerned. So all in all, primarily the focus will be on inclusive development. How can Team India in a coordinated manner chalk out a strategy for higher growth rate and inclusive growth rate, and can gear up for preparing a better healthcare infrastructure as well. So all this
Right,
are very
Arun.
much likely on the agenda.
Now, this meeting, which will be held today, is in the backdrop of the world fighting a pandemic. And also when we talk of, the struggle of every country now is to bring back the economy on track. Where are we standing, and, how have things changed because of the pandemic? And, at present, what are the challenges that are being faced by the economy?
Well, talking about the challenges, the immediate challenge for the government is to increase the spending in the infrastructure sector, because government or center primarily understands this fact that if in case more jobs are to be created, if in case employment has to be generated, manufacturing and infrastructure, these are the two important sectors that needs to be focused upon. We have seen that how government, has expanded the PLI scheme, and this PLI scheme is benefiting the manufacturing in India. Various foreign countries, the foreign companies primarily are more than eager now to invest in India. The government is preparing a roadmap and giving a conducive environment for the foreign investors, as well as on the ease of doing business front as well, so that they can come to India and of course can do business with ease. They can invest in India, but the need is that how can states and center work together? Because, for example, if in case an investor wants to invest, in any states like Maharashtra or Karnataka, so
All right, Arun, I'll interrupt you here. At present, we'll take our viewers to the Governing Council's meeting, which is being chaired by Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister will be addressing. And up next, we'll have the opening remarks at the 6th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog.
माननीय रक्षा मंत्री जी श्री राजनाथ सिंह, माननीय गृह मंत्री श्री अमित शाह जी, माननीय कृषि और किसान कल्याण मंत्री श्री नरेंद्र सिंह तोमर जी, केंद्रीय मंत्री परिषद के माननीय मंत्रीगण, भाग लेने वाले राज्यों के माननीय मुख्यमंत्री, केंद्र शासित प्रदेशों के लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर और प्रशासक तथा छठी गवर्निंग काउंसिल की बैठक में शिरकत कर रहे और अन्य महानुभाव, It's indeed my privilege and honor to welcome you all on behalf of Niti Aayog and on my own behalf. We are meeting after a considerable gap on account of the COVID pandemic. The 5th meeting of the Governing Council was held on 15th June 2019. Today, as a result of the valiant efforts of our COVID warriors, working under the guidance of our Honorable Prime Minister, we are beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel. The world has recognized and indeed showered praise on India's fight against the COVID pandemic. Having adopted the mantra of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have emerged from import dependence to being an exporter of health equipment and COVID vaccines. This is really a result of the all-round cooperation that has been the hallmark of our fight against the pandemic. The meeting of Niti Aayog's Governing Council is unique in bringing together on one platform all the highest decision makers of the country. It is also the most important forum for knowledge sharing between the center and the states, and also among the states themselves. This platform enables us to identify the key strategies for cohesive action with the whole of the government approach. For this meeting, we were guided by the Honorable Prime Minister to engage more intensively with our counterparts in the states and union territories with the objective of evolving a broad consensus on tackling the major challenges facing the country. Following the guidance by the PM, a day-long meeting was organized on the 6th of February with the Chief Secretaries, Additional Chief Secretaries, Principal Secretaries to the Chief Ministers of states and union territories, along with the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, Cabinet Secretary, Secretaries of Central Government, Ministries and Niti Aayog, Vice Chairman, members and officials. The intensive discussions held on 6th February have contributed significantly to the preparation of the agenda notes that have been sent to all the participants in advance of this meeting. Our hope is that discussions during the day and contributions from the Honorable Chief Ministers will lead us towards evolving a program for national economic development that reflects an emerging broad consensus. The deliberations of this meeting will contribute significantly to sustaining and reinforcing the ongoing economic recovery. The strength of this recovery has surprised both domestic and foreign observers. With all the structural reforms having been undertaken in the past few months, I am sure we will see sustained growth over the coming years. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to express Niti Aayog's commitment to work as closely as possible with all the states and union territories in the spirit of cooperative federalism. It goes without saying that national economic progress is contingent or dependent upon each individual state and union territory achieving high rates of growth. We have to, therefore, pull together in generating large-scale employment and ensuring the welfare of those at the bottom of the pyramid. Niti Aayog will also work with the states and union territories to promote greater efficiency and effectiveness in economic governance. I request all the Chief Ministers, Lieutenant Governors and Administrators to think of Niti Aayog as a development partner in their effort to achieve the aspirations of our young population through a more rapid, inclusive and sustainable economic growth. अब मैं आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से अनुरोध करता हूं कि वे अपने उद्घाटन संबोधन से हम सबको अनुग्रहित करें। प्रधानमंत्री जी।
नमस्कार। नीति आयोग की गवर्निंग काउंसिल में मैं आप सभी का स्वागत करता हूं। देश की प्रगति का आधार है कि केंद्र और राज्य साथ मिलकर के कार्य करें और निश्चित दिशा में आगे बढ़े। कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म को और अधिक सार्थक बनाना और यही नहीं, हमें प्रयत्नपूर्वक कॉम्पिटिटिव कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म को न सिर्फ राज्यों के बीच डिस्ट्रिक्ट तक ले जाना है, ताकि विकास की स्पर्धा निरंतर चलती रहे, विकास ये प्राइम एजेंडा बना रहे, देश को नई ऊंचाई पर ले जाने की स्पर्धा कैसे बढ़े, ये मंथन करने के लिए पहले भी कई बार हमने चर्चा की है। आज भी स्वाभाविक है कि इस समिट में उस पर बल दिया जाएगा। हमने कोरोना कालखंड में देखा है कि कैसे अब राज्य और केंद्र सरकार ने मिलकर काम किया, देश सफल हुआ और दुनिया में भी भारत की एक अच्छी छवि निर्माण हुई। साथियों, आज जब देश अपनी आजादी के 75 वर्ष पूरे करने जा रहा है, तब इस गवर्निंग काउंसिल की बैठक और महत्वपूर्ण हो गई है। मैं राज्यों से भी आग्रह करूंगा कि आजादी के 75 वर्ष के लिए अपने अपने राज्यों में समाज के सभी लोगों को जोड़ करके समितियों का निर्माण हो, जिलों में भी समितियों का निर्माण हो, अब से कुछ देर पहले इस बैठक के लिए बिंदुओं का एक सरसरा उल्लेख आपके सामने हुआ है। इन एजेंडा पॉइंट्स का चयन देश की सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकताओं को ध्यान में रखते हुए किया गया है। इन एजेंडा पॉइंट्स पर राज्यों से सुझाव लेने के लिए, राज्यों को तैयारी का पर्याप्त समय देने के लिए एक नया प्रयोग शुरू किया गया कि इस बार नीति आयोग के साथ राज्यों के सभी प्रमुख अधिकारियों के साथ एक अच्छा सा वर्कशॉप भी हुआ इसके पूर्व, और उस चर्चा में जो पॉइंट आए उनको भी इसमें जोड़ने के लिए हमने प्रयास किया है और इसके कारण काफी सुधार और एक प्रकार से राज्यों की अपेक्षाओं को ध्यान में रखते हुए एजेंडा बना है। इस प्रक्रिया से गुजरने की वजह से इस बार गवर्निंग काउंसिल के एजेंडा पॉइंट्स बहुत स्पेसिफिक है और हमारी चर्चा को और सारगर्भित बनाएंगे। साथियों, पिछले कुछ सालों में हमने देखा है कि हमारे देश के गरीबों को एम्पावर करने की दिशा में बैंक खाते खुलने से, टीकाकरण बढ़ने से, स्वास्थ्य सुविधा बढ़ने से, मुफ्त बिजली कनेक्शन मिलने से, मुफ्त गैस कनेक्शन, मुफ्त शौचालय निर्माण की योजनाओं, उनके जीवन में, खास करके गरीबों के जीवन में एक अभूतपूर्व बदलाव नजर आ रहा है। देश में अभी हर गरीब को पक्की छत देने का अभियान भी तेज गति से चल रहा है। कुछ राज्य बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, कुछ राज्यों को अपनी गति बढ़ाने की आवश्यकता भी है। 2014 के बाद से देखें तो गांवों और शहरों को मिलाकर 2 करोड़ 40 लाख से ज्यादा घरों का निर्माण पूरा किया गया है। आपको मालूम है, देश के 6 शहरों में आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी से घरें बनाकर एक अभियान चल रहा है। एक आध महीने के भीतर भीतर नई टेक्नोलॉजी से तेजी से अच्छी क्वालिटी के मजबूत मकान बनाने की दिशा में देश के 6 शहरों में नए मॉडल तैयार होंगे। वो भी इस काम के लिए हर राज्य को ये उपयोगी होने वाला है। उसी प्रकार से पानी की कमी और प्रदूषित पानी से होने वाली बीमारी लोगों के विकास में बाधा न बने, कुपोषण की समस्याओं को वो बढ़ाए नहीं, इस दिशा में भी मिशन मोड में काम हो रहा है। जब जल जीवन मिशन शुरू होने के बाद से पिछले 18 महीनों में ही 3.5 करोड़ से भी अधिक ग्रामीण घरों को पाइप वाटर सप्लाई से जोड़ा जा चुका है। गांवों में इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी के लिए भारत नेट स्कीम एक बड़े बदलाव का माध्यम बन रही है। ऐसी सारी योजनाओं में जब केंद्र और राज्य सरकारें मिलकर काम करेगी तो काम की गति भी बढ़ेगी और अंतिम व्यक्ति तक उसका लाभ पहुंचना भी सुनिश्चित हो जाएगा। साथियों, इस वर्ष के बजट पर जिस तरह का एक पॉजिटिव रिस्पांस आया है, चारों तरफ से एक नई आशा का वातावरण पैदा हुआ है, उसने जता दिया है कि मूड ऑफ द नेशन क्या है। देश मन बना चुका है, देश तेजी से आगे बढ़ना चाहता है, देश अब समय नहीं गंवाना चाहता है और कुल मिलाकर के देश के मन को बनाने में देश का युवा मन बहुत बड़ी भूमिका अदा कर रहा है और तभी ये बदलावों के प्रति एक नया आकर्षण पैदा हुआ है। हमें भी ये देख कैसे देश का प्राइवेट सेक्टर देश की इस विकास यात्रा में और ज्यादा उत्साह से आगे आ रहा है। सरकार के नाते हमें इस उत्साह का, प्राइवेट सेक्टर की ऊर्जा का सम्मान भी करना है और उसे आत्मनिर्भर भारत में उतना ही अवसर भी देना है। आत्मनिर्भर भारत एक ऐसे नए भारत की तरफ कदम है जहां हर व्यक्ति, हर संस्था, हर उद्यम को अपनी पूरी क्षमताओं से आगे बढ़ने का अवसर मिले। साथियों, आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान एक ऐसे भारत का निर्माण का मार्ग है जो न केवल अपनी आवश्यकताओं के लिए बल्कि विश्व के लिए भी उत्पादन करे और ये उत्पादन विश्व श्रेष्ठता की कसौटी पर भी खरा उतरे। और इसलिए मैं हमेशा कहता हूं, जीरो डिफेक्ट जीरो इफेक्ट। भारत जैसा युवा देश, उसकी आकांक्षाओं को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण करना होगा, इनोवेशन को बढ़ावा देना होगा, टेक्नोलॉजी का ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्रयोग करना होगा, शिक्षा कौशल के बेहतर अवसर उन्हें देने होंगे। साथियों, हमें अपने बिजनेस को, एमएसएमईज को, स्टार्टअप्स को और मजबूत करने की जरूरत है। हमारे हर राज्य की अपनी एक खूबी है, हर राज्य के हर जिले के पास अपना हुनर है, अपनी खासियत है, कई प्रकार के पोटेंशियल्स हम बारीकी से देखें तो नजर आते हैं। सरकार द्वारा देश को ये सैकड़ों जिलों के प्रोडक्ट्स को शॉर्टलिस्ट करके उनके वैल्यूएडिशन के लिए, मार्केटिंग और एक्सपोर्ट के लिए उन्हें प्रमोट किया जा रहा है। इससे राज्यों के बीच एक स्वस्थ स्पर्धा अभी प्रारंभ हुई है, लेकिन आगे बढ़ाना है। कौन राज्य सबसे ज्यादा एक्सपोर्ट करता है, अधिक से अधिक प्रकार की चीजें एक्सपोर्ट करता है, अधिकतम देशों में एक्सपोर्ट करता है, अधिक से अधिक मूल्य की चीजें एक्सपोर्ट करता है, और फिर जिलों में भी ये स्पर्धा कैसे बने और हम एक्सपोर्ट पर विशेष बल हर राज्य हर जिला कैसे दें। हमें इस प्रयोग को जिलों और ब्लॉक्स के बीच भी लेकर जाना है। हमें राज्यों के संसाधनों का पूरा इस्तेमाल करना होगा। राज्यों से होने वाला एक्सपोर्ट हमें आग्रहपूर्वक, और इसका हिसाब किताब हर महीना लेना चाहिए और उसको बढ़ाना चाहिए। पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क और केंद्र एवं राज्यों के बीच बेहतर तालमेल भी बहुत जरूरी है। अब जैसे हमारे यहां कोस्टल स्टेट है, मत्स्य उद्योग को, ब्लू इकोनॉमी को और मछली को विदेशों में एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए असीमित अवसर है। हमारे कोस्टल स्टेट उसके लिए क्यों न स्पेशल इनिशिएटिव ले। देखिए, इकोनॉमी को बहुत बड़ा बल मिल सकता है, हमारे फिशरमैन को बहुत बड़ा बल मिल सकता है। मैं चाहूंगा कि आप इस बात से परिचित हैं कि केंद्र सरकार ने विभिन्न सेक्टर्स के लिए एक पीएलआई स्कीम शुरू की है। ये देश में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बढ़ाने का बेहतरीन अवसर है। राज्यों को भी इस स्कीम का पूरा लाभ लेते हुए अपने यहां ज्यादा से ज्यादा निवेश आकर्षित करना चाहिए। कॉरपोरेट टैक्स की दरें कम करने का लाभ भी राज्यों ने बढ़ चढ़ करके उठाना चाहिए। आपने ऐसी कंपनियों का संपर्क करना चाहिए कि दुनिया में इतना कम टैक्स रेट जब किया गया है तो उसका फायदा आपके राज्य को मिलना चाहिए। साथियों, इस बार के बजट में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए दिए गए फंड की भी काफी चर्चा हो रही है। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर होने वाला ये खर्च देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को कई स्तर पर आगे बढ़ाने का काम करेगा, रोजगार के भी बहुत अवसर पैदा करेगा। एक मल्टीपल इफेक्ट होती है इसकी। नेशनल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पाइपलाइन में राज्यों का हिस्सा 40% से इसलिए 40% है, और इसलिए जरूरी है कि राज्य और केंद्र मिलकर अपने बजट को सिंक्रोनाइज करें, प्लानिंग करें और प्राथमिकताओं को तय करें। अब भारत सरकार ने अपना बजट पहले की तुलना में 1 महीना प्रीपोन किया है। राज्यों के बजट और केंद्र के बजट में बीच में 3-4 सप्ताह मिल जाते हैं, तो केंद्र के बजट के लाइट में राज्यों का बजट बनता है, तो दोनों मिलकर के एक दिशा में आगे बढ़ते हैं। और मैं चाहूंगा कि इस दिशा में भी राज्यों के बजट चर्चा करते होंगे। जिन राज्यों का बजट अभी आने वाला है वो इस काम को और प्राथमिकता पर कर सकते हैं। केंद्रीय बजट के साथ ही राज्यों का बजट भी विकास को गति देने में, राज्यों को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने में उतना ही अहम है। साथियों, 15वें वित्त आयोग में लोकल बॉडीज के आर्थिक संसाधनों में बड़ा इजाफा होने जा रहा है। स्थानीय स्तर पर गवर्नेंस में सुधार लोगों का लिए क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ और उनके आत्मविश्वास का आधार बनती है। इन सुधारों से में टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ साथ जन भागीदारी भी बहुत आवश्यक है। मैं समझता हूं कि पंचायत राज व्यवस्था तथा नगर निकायों के निर्वाचित प्रतिनिधियों को इस कन्वर्जेंस तथा आउटकम्स के लिए जिम्मेदार बनाने का भी समय आ गया है। स्थानीय स्तर पर बदलाव के लिए जिले, राज्य और केंद्र एक साथ मिलकर काम करते हैं तो परिणाम कितने सकारात्मक आते हैं, इसके लिए आकांक्षी जिलों का उदाहरण हमारे सामने है। एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट का जो प्रयोग रहा है वो अच्छे परिणाम दे रहा है, लेकिन पिछले कुछ दिनों में कोरोना के कारण जो गति आनी चाहिए तो नहीं आई, लेकिन अब फिर से उस पर हम बल दे सकते हैं। साथियों, कृषि अपार क्षमताओं से भरी है, लेकिन फिर भी कुछ सच्चाइयां हमें स्वीकार करनी होगी। हम कृषि प्रधान देश कहे जाएं, उसके बावजूद भी आज करीब 65-70 हजार करोड़ रुपए का खाद्य तेल हम बाहर से लाते हैं। ये हम बंद कर सकते हैं। हमारे किसानों के खाते में पैसा जा सकता है, ये पैसों का हकदार हमारा किसान है, लेकिन इसके लिए हमारी योजनाएं उस प्रकार से हमें बनानी होगी। हमने पिछले दिनों दालों में प्रयोग किया, उसमें सफलता मिली। अब दाम बाहर से लाने में, दालों को बाहर से लाने में खर्चा हमारा काफी कम हुआ है। ऐसी कई चीजें, कई खाद्य चीजें बिना कारण हमारे टेबल पर आज आ जाती है। हमारे देश के किसानों को ऐसी चीजों को उत्पादन में कोई मुश्किल नहीं है, थोड़ा गाइड करने की जरूरत है। और इसलिए ऐसे कई कृषि उत्पाद हैं जो हमारे किसान न सिर्फ देश के लिए पैदा कर सकते हैं बल्कि दुनिया को भी सप्लाई कर सकते हैं। इसके लिए जरूरी है कि सभी राज्य अपनी एग्रो क्लाइमेटिक रीजनल प्लानिंग, उसकी स्ट्रेटेजी बनाएं, उसके हिसाब से किसान को मदद करें। साथियों, बीते वर्षों में कृषि से लेकर पशुपालन और मत्स्य पालन तक एक होलिस्टिक अप्रोच अपनाई गई है। इसका परिणाम है कि कोरोना के दौर में भी देश में कृषि निर्यात में काफी बढ़ोतरी हुई है, लेकिन हमारा पोटेंशियल इससे अनेक गुना ज्यादा है। हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स का वेस्टेज कम से कम हो, इसके लिए स्टोरेज और प्रोसेसिंग पर भी ध्यान देने की जरूरत है और उसमें इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए हमें जितने भी पोटेंशियल जहां भी है उसको जोड़ना पड़ेगा। हमें जानते हैं कि भारत साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में रॉ फिश एक्सपोर्ट करता है। जब मैंने प्रारंभ में कहा, वहां वो फिश प्रोसेस करके भारी मुनाफे और प्रोसेस प्रोडक्ट के तौर पर बेची जाती है। क्या हम सीधे प्रोसेस फिश प्रोडक्ट को बड़े पैमाने पर एक्सपोर्ट नहीं कर सकते? हमारे सभी कोस्टल स्टेट खुद अपना इनिशिएटिव लेकर के इस पूरे ग्लोबल मार्केट को ऊपर अपना प्रभाव पैदा नहीं कर सकते हैं? ऐसी स्थिति कई और क्षेत्रों, कई और प्रोडक्ट्स के साथ है। हमारे किसानों को जरूरी आर्थिक संसाधन मिले, बेहतर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मिले, आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी मिले, इसके लिए रिफॉर्म्स बहुत जरूरी है। साथियों, हाल ही में ऐसे कई रिफॉर्म्स किए गए हैं जो रेगुलेशन को कम करते हैं, सरकार का दखल कम करते हैं। मैंने पिछले दिनों देखा, सरकार के अंदर सामान्य व्यक्ति को कंप्लायंस, हजारों ऐसे कंप्लायंस हैं जिसको हम निकाल सकते हैं। जैसे पिछले दिनों हमने 1500 कानून खत्म किए। मैं राज्यों से आग्रह करूंगा, आप एक छोटी टीम बिठाइए, बिना कारण, अब जब टेक्नोलॉजी है तो बार बार चीजें मांगने की जरूरत नहीं है लोगों से। ये कंप्लायंस का बर्डन देश के नागरिक के सर पर से हम कम करें, राज्य आगे आए। मैंने भी भारत सरकार में कहा है और हमारे कैबिनेट सेक्रेटरी उसके पीछे लगे हुए हैं, कंप्लायंस की संख्या जितनी कम हो करनी है। ये भी ईज ऑफ लिविंग के लिए बहुत जरूरी है। उसी प्रकार से साथियों, युवाओं को अपना सामर्थ्य खुलकर दिखाने का भी हमें मौका देना होगा। कुछ महीना पहले ही आपने देखा होगा कुछ महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय किए गए, उसकी चर्चा बहुत ज्यादा नहीं होती है लेकिन इसका परिणाम बहुत बड़ा होता है। ओएसपी रेगुलेशंस को रिफॉर्म किया गया था। इससे युवाओं को कहीं से भी काम करने की फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी मिली है। इसका बहुत बड़ा लाभ हमारे टैक्स सेक्टर को मिला। मैं अभी पिछले दिनों आईटी सेक्टर के लोगों से बात कर रहा था, मुझे कईयों ने बताया कि उनके 95% लोग अब घर से ही काम कर रहे हैं और उनका काम अच्छा चल रहा है। अब देखिए ये कितना बड़ा बदलाव आ रहा है। हमने इन चीजों पर बल देना होगा। हमें ऐसी जो बंदिशें हैं उन सारी बंदिशों को समाप्त करना चाहिए। काफी मात्रा में हमने पिछले दिनों रिफॉर्म करके किया भी है। आपने देखा होगा कुछ दिन पहले हमने एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय किया है। जियो स्पेशियल डेटा से जुड़े नियमों को भी लिबरलाइज कर दिया है। जो अभी हमने किया है वो अगर आज से 10 साल पहले हम कर पाते तो शायद ये गूगल वगैरह भारत के बाहर नहीं बनते, वो हमारे यहां बनते। हमारे ही लोगों की टैलेंट है लेकिन प्रोडक्ट हमारी नहीं है। इससे हमारे स्टार्टअप्स और टेक सेक्टर को तो बहुत बड़ी मदद मिली है। मैं चाहता हूं कि ये फैसला देश के सामान्य मानवी की ईज ऑफ लिविंग बढ़ाने में मदद करेगा। और साथियों, मैं 2 चीजों का आग्रह करूंगा। आज विश्व में हमें एक अवसर प्राप्त हुआ है। उस अवसर को जुटाने के लिए हमारी कोशिश रहनी चाहिए ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, और भारत के नागरिकों के लिए हमारी कोशिश रहनी चाहिए ईज ऑफ लिविंग। ग्लोबली भारत के पोजीशनिंग के लिए, भारत को अपॉर्चुनिटी ग्रैब करने के लिए ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस का महत्व है और उसके लिए हमारे कानूनों में सुधार करना होगा, व्यवस्थाओं में सुधार करना होगा और देश के नागरिकों की आशा अपेक्षाओं को पूरा करने के लिए, उसके जीवन को सरल करने के लिए, ईज ऑफ लिविंग के लिए जो चीजें आवश्यक हैं उसको बल देना पड़ेगा। साथियों, मैं अब आपके अनुभव, आपके सुझाव सुनने के लिए उत्सुक हूं। आज हम दिन भर बैठने वाले हैं, बीच में एक थोड़ा समय हम ब्रेक लेंगे लेकिन हम सारे विषयों की बात करेंगे। मुझे विश्वास है कि हमेशा की तरह इस बार भी आप सभी की तरफ से रचनात्मक और सकारात्मक विचार आप देश को आगे ले जाने में बहुत काम आएंगे और हम सब मिलकर के, केंद्र और राज्य, हम एक देश के रूप में एक ही दिशा में जितनी शक्ति लगा सकते हैं, लगी शक्ति लगा करके विश्व में एक अभूतपूर्व अवसर भारत के लिए पैदा हुआ है। ये मौका हम जाने नहीं देंगे। इसी एक अपेक्षा के साथ मैं फिर एक बार इस महत्वपूर्ण समिट में आप सबकी उपस्थिति का स्वागत करता हूं, आपके सुझावों का इंतजार करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
So that was Prime Minister addressing the 6th meeting of the Governing Council of the Niti Aayog via video conferencing, and the meeting will continue. In his opening remarks, the Prime Minister talked of the agenda points. He said that the adherence has been attempted to the agenda points so that the expectations of the states has also been taken care of. He also referred to how the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the times today. He also talked of how the poor in the country have been empowered. And referring to the empowerment of poor, he enlisted the schemes that have led to upliftment of the poor and also how it has led to further improving their lives and imparting better lives to them. He also talked of how modern infrastructure, technology, innovation, these have to be further strengthened and they have to be further, betterment of these have to be further aimed at. The startups have to be encouraged and the products have been earlier also improved and improvised and have been promoted for export, and further in the future run also they have to be encouraged. Special emphasis on exports in zillas and blocks in the country has to be given. The Prime Minister also talked of policy framework and better coordination between states and centre has to be further strengthened, and he also talked of how states should benefit from the lower tax rates as well. Infrastructure will also have to be strengthened because of the infrastructure has also been strengthened in fact because of the infrastructure fund, and schemes have to be made and modified to benefit farmers and agriculture sector. He also said that agro-climatic regional planning by states will help farmers to a great extent. And he also emphasized on how storage and processing also need to be strengthened. He said opportunities and the OSP regulations were reformed, which have helped the youth to a great extent. And he summed up by saying that ease of doing business and ease of living, both of these have to be strengthened for the success and progress of the nation as a whole. So that was the gist of the Prime Minister's opening address at the Governing Council's 6th meeting. We'll keep you updated. As of now, that's it in this edition of the News on the Hour. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.